Hi there, fitness and sports medicine professional Tony Colesano here to share with you information on my Crescendo player profile system. I've been in the industry for a long time, and one of the biggest things I see people mess up most is wasting their time and effort on the wrong stuff, working out and not getting results. I found that by identifying a person's most important area of need is an awesome strategy to truly get the most out of exercise. In my opinion, there are two primary reasons athletes should train: to enhance performance and to prevent and reduce the risk and severity of injuries. In order to do that efficiently and optimally, athletes need to discover how their bodies move. Understanding movement opens all kinds of doors for an athlete. One tool fitness professionals use is the functional movement screen, FMS, which was created in the late 90s by some of the smartest professionals in the industry as sort of a trouble detection system. When used with athletes, the results were consistently so good that this system just took off and is used by most of the best athletes in the world in all sports. In 2003, for golfers, Titleist invested in the concept, tweaked it specifically to assess the demands of the golf swing, and then built an impressive training facility in California called the Titleist Performance Institute. The success of TPI and the impact it had on helping the best golfers in the world sparked an interest in the baseball world. And just a few years ago, On Base U was formed. I was fortunate enough to be one of the first certified in Massachusetts. I learned the program with fitness professionals and coaches from the Boston Red Sox, UCLA softball, Baltimore Orioles, Dominican coaches, European coaches. It was impressive to see how widespread this movement assessment approach is being utilized. My on-base U certification, coupled with my FMS and TPI credentials, have truly helped me see athletes through a different lens, which in turn has helped me to explain to them what specifically they need to work on better. FMS, TPI, and On-Base U are not just another trendy, fad, money-making scheme. They're legit professional organizations with proven results and advisory boards of the best minds in their respective sports. Eric Cressey is one of the go-to guys for major league pitchers. Dr. Tom House, Tom Brady's throwing coach, is one of the most well-respected coaches when it comes to understanding how to train the throwing shoulder. This stuff is current and it reflects what the most recent science supports in movement and performance. So if athletes like Jordan Spieth, LeBron James, Phil Mickelson, Corey Kluber, Tom Brady, if they're using this stuff, then you know there's got to be something to it. To understand it better, think about it as if your body is the car and your brain is the driver. You can have the best souped up car with all the best parts assembled perfectly, but if the driver lacks skills, succeeding in the race will be challenging. Likewise, if you put a skilled driver behind the wheel of a car with alignment issues or poor horsepower, it's tough to expect positive results. The car is your body and the driver is your neuromuscular system. Sometimes the problem is with your body, the car, like strength, flexibility, and balance problems. And sometimes it's a skill related thing, the driver. Knowing if you have a car problem, a driver problem, or both is helpful in figuring out how to get better. In order to do this, we evaluate with what's called a joint by joint approach, where we see the body operates in an alternating pattern of mobile joints and stable joints. The ankle is supposed to be a mobile joint, the knee stable, the hip mobile, etc. If for some reason a mobile joint is limited, maybe from either injury or lack of use, the joints above or below, which are supposed to be stable, are forced to make up for it and problems are created. Frequently, we see postural problems, typically from sitting, where one might develop a forward head or weak glutes and a slouchy posture. One of the things we screen for is how an athlete's hip flexors and glutes are functioning. Tight hip flexors shut down the glutes, which can really limit an athlete's ability to develop power. Movements such as pitching, throwing, hitting, and swinging a golf club can be considered to work best like a whip, where power transfers up and out. We can evaluate and measure this with what we call the kinematic sequence. The kinematic sequence is the order in which different parts of the body fire. In this diagram, the pelvis is red and should fire first, then the trunk in green, the arms in blue, and finally the hands in yellow. If you look at the graph, you see red or pelvis peaks first, then the green trunk, blue arms, and finally yellow hands way up at the top. I know it seems a bit confusing at first, but what's cool about this is when you look at the greatest hitters in the game of baseball, or the best golfers in the world, their swings are all pretty unique. However, their kinematic sequence is exactly the same. That's how we've learned that it's the most efficient way to move and generate power consistently. Pretty cool stuff. In my player profile, I screen athletes to assess their movement capabilities and discover their strengths, weaknesses, and limitations. Then I can also hook them up to my 3D motion capture sensors, which create an avatar of the athlete, and I measure their angles, speeds, and sequencing of their swing. It's pretty valuable information. So here's a summary of my system. In the initial session, we have a deep chat about their honest goals, what they like and don't like, their preferences, injuries, fears, aspirations. I try to truly understand and connect with the athlete. Then I do an appropriate movement screen and maybe the 3D capture. That session can be done virtually as well. After the session, I produce a report which may take me a day or two to develop. I think about all the stuff that I gathered in the first session and try to put together a true picture of what's going on with the athlete. I recommend scheduling a second session for the review of the report and to really understand the findings, or I can just email it to them if they don't want to have that session. Then if the athlete wants me to write them a workout program, we'll schedule a third session to learn and go over the exercises and parameters. And then finally, athletes can implement the workouts independently, or we can try to find a time for me to train them virtually or in person. So thanks for listening, and reach out if you'd like to schedule a time for me to create your Crescendo player profile. Best way to reach me is probably through my website at www.tonycolesano.com.